You've got it. I've got you. All right. So a couple of things I'm just gonna go through today. I feel like we all learn best by doing. And so I'm just going to go through how to do this, and feel free to actually do this as I'm explaining things. I'll try to go a little bit slower. You will all get, in fact, actually, let me do one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm going to go out of that. I am going to give you the link in the chat. And I'll send you the link in the chat. And so you can follow along with me if you would like to. Otherwise, I will show it to you, and you can work on this on your own. This was something, and if you plan to use this in your classroom, feel free to just use the slide deck and walk students how to do this. Obviously, you probably don't want my Bitmoji on there and change it all up and make it fit yours. So if you go into and open your Google Drive and click on New, then to get to a Google Drawing, you're going to scroll down and click More, and then click on Google Drawings. So I'll give you a minute to do that if you'd like to do this with me. You can also, you have this slide deck, so you are welcome to just kind of walk through and do this. And I'll show you a little bit after we get going on this. I'll show you how I used it in my classroom. And it's just a fun way. This was before Canva and some other site design things, but it just really helped when kids were doing, I sometimes had them do a group presentation. And so they would together create a visual. And so I'm sure there are a host of different ways to use this as well. So once you get to your document, you're going to see like a gray, it looks like a checkerboard. It's gray and white background. And so go into go up to the top and go to File, and then you'll go and click Page Setup. Now, the reason for this, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but this changes the size and the format of it. And it'll automatically do a 4:3 setup, page setup. And you can click on widescreen or 16:10, or you can click custom. For this, for student use, I sometimes printed out the visual for kids to use because they needed it. They also use this sometimes for different individual presentations. And so if you click it to and if that's important, printing it out, then you'll want to make it the size of a page. So 11 by 8.5 will have the page be in landscape form. So it will be a rectangle that goes horizontally. And if you want it to be in portrait mode, then you would put 8.5 by 11. And whenever you've decided what size you want it to be, you can do as big or small as you want, 18 by 24, whatever you want. And then click apply. And if printing it is not important, which in many cases it's not, then you can make it as big as you'd like. But this is just how you set up that so that the space that they're putting text and images and maybe even paragraphs is big enough so they can see it. So once that is done, I did this thing called a collaborative poster, and that's what I called it. So once this is done, you are going to have, and probably I should have started with this, but I just had one student do those first 2 steps. And then they clicked share. And I always had them share it with me. And I'll explain why that's important later on, or why it was important for this particular thing later on. And then they will share with all the members of the group. And usually I had kids sorted by table groups. And so they would just, like, a table group might do this. And so then they'll share with all the members of the group. A lot of times I would just have students pass their push the Chromebook around so that names get spelled accurately. And so that is done quickly and efficiently, and students have their name affirmed. And so that's the next thing that they'll do. And so we'll skip that part because you don't need to share it with anyone. You can also do this. Actually, the other way you could do it is you could also share with with a teaching partner, for example, or anyone you wanted to. So that's just the share button. So then the reason why this was important is I sometimes, with group work, middle school students and maybe high school students, and really actually any human being ever out there, sometimes when you're doing group work, it can end up that one or two people are doing all of the work and everyone else is just letting that happen. And that happens for a variety of reasons. Sometimes you have students who just kind of take over and they just want to do it all themselves. And other times students have trouble engaging. And so what I would tell students to hopefully get them all to buy in and work collaboratively and together is let them know that I was going to be checking the document to see what contributions that they made. And that was why it was important that they shared the document with me, because then I could see the version history. Version history is important too, and I would share that with students, because if somebody accidentally deletes the whole thing and it can't be undone, you can go back, or they're not in the room or whatever, sometimes they're not at school working together, then they could go back and click on that version history and restore whatever version that had gotten erased. So that's another kind of Google Docs, it can never be erased. Students are like, oh, I accidentally deleted my Google Doc. I'm like, no, honey, that's not possible. And so I would show them how to Google it, because sometimes it was like, I deleted it when they hadn't started it. And other times they were like, I lost it. And so this is a really helpful thing to help students realize you can't lose it. It's fine. Don't panic. We got it. We got it. And so then this is how it looks for you when you're looking to see what they contribute. So this is an example of student work. I always did this I did an infogap for students when we were learning the 8 different elements of culture. And so they would be assigned a type of economy, a type of government, a different element of culture. And so then they created this, and you could see all of the digital footprints. I've deleted them, or I've covered up the student names, but you could see all of the things that the students did. And so then sometimes I would notice, man, such and such's name is not on there. And so then I would go over and I would check in with the students. I'm like, hey, I'm a little worried, everybody, because I'm not seeing such and such's name. And the kids would look at me and they're like, sometimes it was, yeah, they haven't really been doing a whole lot. And then I'd talk with the student. I was like, is that true? They're like, yeah. I'm like, how about we get engaged? Or I would say that, and students would be like, no, we just decided that they are telling me what to write, and then I'm just being the recorder. So I was like, okay, good. And you can always tell with the kids, like which thing is happening. And so that just really kind of affirmed the kids and the choices that they were making. And also it served as a point to kind of regroup. If you're noticing, I'm not seeing any work that is happening from you, can I, what can I do to help you feel like you can be successful and engage with your group? And so that was just a really helpful thing to help feelings not be hurt, and help students feel like they could engage with that. This also serves as a way to scaffold the assignment with a project planner. So when students were doing a big job, I would have them create a task needed for completion, like what images did they need, what descriptions needed to be written, and then it would be a column, and on the other column, students would put their names on things so that they could see, okay, I'm responsible for this, I'm going to do this. And it just kind of helps students work through. And again, I was very upfront with students. I was going to be looking at that version history, and and then looking at and how to help restore any hurt feelings or anything that is happening on both ends, because sometimes kids aren't engaging because they're like, you're not doing anything, and that doesn't feel good either. And so it was just a way to really do that. And a lot of times this wasn't really even used as an assessment. For me, there wasn't anything I was entering in the grade, because the assessment was their individual contributions in the group project, whether that was an oral presentation or what have you. But it really just kind of increased accountability for all of the kids, and helped kids feel seen. And so that was really helpful for me. So this is the fun stuff. And I'm gonna just show you this as well, but I wanted to leave this here for you. But you can insert anything. You can upload from the computer, you can search the web, you can find it in your drive, you can arrange things by bringing things front to forward, move it to the back, and you can adjust all of those different things. And so we are just going to play around here because we've got a couple of minutes. Yes, we do. So I'm just going to show you how to, what this looks like with a Google Draw. So I'm going to go down to more. I'm going to get into my Google Draw here. And I'm not going to adjust any of the space setting just for sake of whatever. But let's say that I want to go and do an image, and I'm going to search an image on crayons. I don't know. So you're going to get all these images. So some of these are not, they might be helpful for us, you know, if you're looking for images. But one of the things I like to add on here is the word line drawing. And when you add the word line drawing, you can be a little more flexible with things. And so if I want to add these images, you're just going to click on whatever images that you want. Oops. And then you'll click insert. And so then they will pop up. And you can make them bigger or smaller. And oh, I guess I didn't get the other one on there. So let's go back to that. Insert image. I can also insert image from my desktop. So let's just do this because this is a random image. And so what you can do, and this is where I want to show you how to arrange things. Let's say, and this is not a, you know, you wouldn't necessarily do it with this, but let's say you want this pencil to be on top of this image. So you'll click on the either image. So this is the one that I want to go in the back. And if I click on arrange, I can send it to the back. And this particular one isn't, you can't see through it, so that's not a great example. I apologize. Let's see if I can find another crayon that might do what I'm trying to show you here. There it is. So the line drawings, you can see, you can actually have them be above or below another image. And so if I want to move this and have this superimposed like that, I could. This is a better example here. So that's, and sometimes you want that layered effect, and you can also make things smaller. So, oops, sorry, I'm moving too fast. So let's say I don't want all of these tools in here. I can also just double click on the image. Oh my gosh, this is not, sorry, I'm Control Z. So I can double click on this image, and this is not working. There we go. I can, let me just do this here. Let's say I just want that drawing book. So then I can drag this and I can get rid of all of those other images that I don't want. And you'll just drag on this black, there's an extra black line that shows up, and you'll drag that and make that smaller. And now I just have the image of the drawing book. And you can add text, pencil. I can make it bigger. I can change the font. I can make it as big as I want. And I can then also, for any of these things, if you take this top thing, you can shift things around, and it really just allows you to play around and add all kinds of things. And so once I showed students these couple of tools, then they just went off and just had a lot of fun creating their masterpiece. And so it was a fun little way to incorporate graphic design. And you can, so I've added a shape here, and I can add the color on there. I want to maybe make this outline green. I can make the lines thicker. So really, it just allows you the opportunity to play around and engage with and be a little, quasi graphic designer. So this also allows all students to work on things at the same time. So if I were to share this document with all of you, you can all add in there, and I can share this with you right now. I would change the settings to this. And if I sent you this link right now, which you could also do with the whole class, and make it, you can drop this in Canvas, for example, put this link in there. And if you wanted students to be able to do this, I can drop that in there, and you can all get onto my doc if you wanted to. And so as long as those shared settings are there. Yes. Oh, that is a great tip, Trygve, that you can edit images as well. So there's a lot of possibilities with this, and it's just a fun thing. Students were really engaged in these. They had a lot of fun with it. So what they did in this case was they were responsible for a type of government or a type of economy. And then they used their presentation, the one that I had showed you in the this example over here. They used this to then serve as like to help illustrate their whatever it was that they were presenting on. And so they liked it. The other thing we talked about too, as they were picking fonts, I don't know about you, but my experience with middle schoolers is they love to have those crazy fonts that nobody can read. So I was like, you need to make sure you pick a font that we can read, as well as my eyes are old, so make the font big enough for me. So yeah, this was all of, it's a very quick thing. Does anybody have any questions, or are they running up into anything where they might be having
You're welcome.
Teamwork makes the dream work. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? I will say high engagement, kids loved it. And you do need to give them a little extra time, because it does, they do play around with it a lot, and they have some enjoyment doing it. So I wanted them to have some creative time, because it was also really great. I had students use this when they wanted to, when they were doing just individual projects that I was having them draw things. I am not the best artist, like hand-drawn artist. And so this was one of the tools that I would share with students, so that they could make their, whatever they were submitting to me for an assessment, make it look really nice and sharp and clean, because they were like, I'm not very good at art, Miss Cruz. And I was like, me neither. So let me show you how to do this. So this was one of the tools I would show them, so that they could make things, look the way they wanted it to look if they weren't able to hand draw. And other students, are incredible artists, and they're like, I don't want to use this, I want to draw it. I'm like, great. And so it's just another option for students to use to make things look good. Because I definitely was not a hand-drawn artist. I wasn't very good at that. And so this is a great tool for kids to use, so that they can make things look sharp. So yeah. Any questions? I just wanted to give you time to play around, and so I went through things really fast. Sorry about that. I'm also curious what grade levels you all teach, because hopefully I did use this with 5th grade at one point. And I think 5th grade would use it, but anything for sure, upper elementary and even high school, although high schoolers generally know those, know all these other tools. Yes, of course, Jennifer, I'm so glad you could come. Thank you all for joining. I know you are, these work days are hard to give up some of your plan time to grade and get some other things done. And so I really appreciate you coming and joining. So, so Alexis, can you feel free to unmute yourself? I want to make sure I'm understanding your question. Would you mind unmuting and just asking?
Yeah. Yes. I was just thinking about, like, if I created something and then put it into something else, like I had a slideshow, but then I guess I could do all these same things in a slideshow. What would be the best way of using this over a slideshow? I guess we do a lot of these things in a slideshow. So I'm thinking about like the connection, or maybe it's just for students to use independently?
No, that's a great question. So one of the things, and actually let me show you what that looks like. So I did actually do this Google Draw does some things that the Google that Google slide decks don't do. And so what I would do, like, obviously I'm not going to print this, but what I would do is I would create on Google Draw. And then if you print, it'll give you a preview and it gets rid of all of those gray lines, because this is what it'll look like. And then what I would do is I would just take a screenshot. So Shift Command 4,
Mhm.
and I would just drag and drop it like this, and then dump it into as an image or the background even of a Google slide. And it was a little bit extra step, but what I found, at least for me, there are some things that Google Draw will do that Google Slides won't. There's not too many things different about it, but I did use this for, like, I would create something that I wanted, and then I'd take a screenshot and insert. You can insert it into anything. You could insert it into a Google Doc. You could insert it into an email. I did this a lot when I inserted things into Canvas. And so that it visually looked how I wanted to do, because Canvas is really limited. And I would, I do the same thing with a Google slide if I just wanted that image. So I inserted a lot of things into Canvas so kids could see, like, instead of just naming the document, sometimes I'm like, find this, look at this, with arrows and things. And so that just help students, especially our students with exceptionalities, multilingual learners, kids on IEP that need things a little more visually, even just our visual learners alone. So yeah, like, I think it has its place. So that's what I would do for sure. But yeah,
I love the simplicity of it and the Google.
Yes.
Like, very intuitive. When would you use this over slides? Like if you wanted to create something, like, I see it more like a blank space versus a slide, right? Like, tell me.
Yeah. So Google Slides can be great. Sometimes what I found especially when I was having kids do group projects, sometimes with Google Slides, kids would go in and mess with other people's Google Slides. So this would be a really great place where, like, in that, where you want kids to see what others are doing, but maybe you've got a few students who really are struggling with their boundaries. And so then they could create a collaborative poster together and then take a screenshot of their final product and put it back into a slide, so that then the other kids can learn from each other, but they can't mess with each other.
That's good. Yeah.
So, like, that would be a place. The collaborative poster too is just if they are doing this for some group work for themselves. But you're right that there's a lot of crossover because it's all part of the Google suite.
Yes.
But it just kind of allowed a little more privacy, because I'm in recovery for perfectionism, and I really don't want people to see what I'm doing until it looks how I want it to look. And so I'm very open with kids about that. And so some kids will be like, yeah, that's me. And so I'm like, okay, well, we'll use this Google Draw, and then you can insert it into the slide when you're done. Kids, I used to do, like, 3 truths and a lie. And then we'd a different kid would be featured each morning, and then we'd try to guess. It was just a community builder. So kids could use this to create that. And then they could dump it into a slide, and then, so, like, there's a bunch of different things. And it could be too, where you could have kids engage with doing this collaboratory as a class, like I just did, dumping it in the chat. So
thank you.
Yeah, those helpful. Are just some ideas. Yeah, but there's a lot of crossover because it's just a Google suite.
No, thank you. That's helpful.
Yes. Thank you. Great questions. So that's it, everyone. I don't want to take your time but you can totally, I'll keep this open for a couple minutes. I've got another training to go to in just 2 or 3 minutes. But I want to stay in here in case anyone has any questions. These are great questions. I appreciate all of you taking time to join me. Otherwise, have a great 3-day weekend. I know we have all needed it. So it's always good to have that break. Bye, Trygve.
Bye. Have a great day, Liv.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.